Hello and welcome to another episode of WIP Workshop. We are here for more indie TTRPG creator interviews. Tonight I am speaking with John and Adrian about Bridgetown, and I am very excited about this. Bridgetown is a Troika-based game. I've not had the pleasure of playing Troika before, but it looks fantastic. The base, I believe, is described more as sort of weird psychedelic sci-fi thing, but it's a very versatile system. And Bridgetown is very different from that base as far as I've seen so far. Liminal pastoral is the way it's described on the website. It is very storybook, it is very whimsical, and we're going to talk more about that. I'm super excited. If you are just following in, if this is your first WIP Workshop interview, this is just a chat with cool people about cool games and what they are doing. Pretty much everybody I have on for WIP Workshop creator interviews are currently designing, promoting, or actively releasing a new indie TTRPG of their own creation. And this gives me a chance to talk with amazing creators, really see their insights and enthusiasms, and let you guys out there see what is coming down the pipelines in the indie TTRPG community, because there are always new amazing games being thought about, designed, put together, crowdfunded, released all the time, more than I can even keep up with. So if you want to check out more of what is currently being developed, crowdfunded, or what is already released, check back on previous WIP Workshop episodes, because they're all really fun conversations. But I think that's enough of me rambling on. Let's throw this over to my two guests here. I'm really excited to talk with both of you. Bridgetown. Bridgetown. It looks like an awesome game. I'm in love with the art style. We've talked about this before. I've seen a number of people talk about this before. It looks like a
Usually the
great
first
game.
comment we get.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, art is a big drawing factor to a lot of people, especially when they're looking for a game, when they're looking for something to invest in. Art shows that it has already been invested in, because art is expensive and art is expressive. It allows somebody to see what the game is about, what features it has, without having to read through word after word after word of a big long text chain. But it looks fantastic, very storybook, very evocative. So let me throw this over to both of you guys. Introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you have going on, and give us the elevator pitch for Bridgetown. Let me throw it over to John first, and thank you very much
Sure,
for
yeah.
joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. So I'm John Gregory. People might know me as TLN or the Lawful Neutral from the Unlawful Games blog. I've been working with David for a while. He produced Low Country Crawl with me a few years back.
And David is
And
from Tactical
yeah,
Grimoire, the publisher of this game, who
yeah,
unfortunately couldn't
he's our
be with us
publisher.
today. Sorry,
He's
continue.
busy showing off Bridgetown in another stream.
Yes.
But so yes, he helped me publish my first zine, Low Country Crawl, and then Charlie, our artist, I worked with him for Gourmet Street, and then Adrian here, we worked together on Gaub, and then we're all together for Bridgetown. So four great minds finally coming together for a single project. I'm really excited about
Yes.
that.
How long
Um,
did you plan that?
huh?
How long did you plan to get us all together?
Oh, from the beginning, you know me.
Nice. Love it when a plan comes together.
Um, exactly. But yeah, Bridgetown. I'm really excited about it. It actually kind of just came together one day from a conversation that Adrian and I were having. So I'm going to have him have a chance to introduce himself. Then the two of us can nerd out about Bridgetown's origins.
Yeah, let's throw it over to Adrian. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Hi, I'm Adrian. I am the Furtive Goblin over at the Furtive Goblin's Burrow, my blog. And I'm newer to the scene than John is. My first book that I worked on was the Book of Gob, which was like so outside of my wheelhouse that it was like such a terrifying new experience, but it turned out amazing. And this Bridgetown has been pretty much a 180 in tone and theme and everything from that, but it's been equally amazing so far.
You're addicted now.
I guess I will deliver. I kind of have an elevator pitch prepared here. Bridgetown is a Troika line crawl game of hijinks and exploration on an infinitely long, crumbling city bridge sandwiched between two infinite voids. It's populated by all manner of punks and weirdos, and there's always a new neighborhood to explore or a gatehouse to smash open.
And, excellent.
Yes, yeah, that was a good one, Adrian.
Line crawl is probably incredibly hipster to try to coin, but
no, I love it.
It's what I've been calling our version of. I can't really call it our version because a couple of other products have done this, but basically a point crawl where your only option is to really go forward or backward. A couple of things like the Gardens of Yin by Dying Stylishly Games have done that before, and that was in part the inspiration when we were first figuring out Bridgetown, but we took it and ran with it.
Very nice. Yeah, the idea that all of your characters, all of the characters, all of the world is just this bridge that goes more or less in a straight line, right? You said point crawl, line crawl, A to B, straight line here to there. You think, what could you possibly get up to, just walking from one point to another? But it looks like you have designed this bridge, this massive, ever-expanding, ever-crumbling bridge, to have all kinds of different features, and it's a really interesting setting to wrap your mind around, especially as a very sort of sandbox-style GM, sandbox-style world builder, where I'm constantly sprawling out, creating as much of the world as possible, expanding outward in every direction, up, down, side to sides, back, forward in time, all of that. And then you look at a game that is a straight line, more or less. But just because it is a straight line, it's still pretty infinite, or as large as you really need it to be, but it's only in two directions. So that creates a very different way of looking at distance and travel and time and what you can expect, between points A and B and where you're going. So I think it's a very interesting idea.
About when you're going through it, you're always thinking about where you've come from and where you're going. Early on in the development, we had this most Troika characters have, a couple of basic skills, a couple of items, maybe a special ability. One of the things that we added to these are looking fors. So each class has 3 looking fors that we suggest. And it's just kind of not necessarily an end goal, but just sort of something that helps add flavor to you about, what are you looking for? Yeah, what are you looking for? What have you not found so far traveling Infinity? What do you have to look forward to and continue pushing you forward? And I feel like that only having that forward and back really sort of drives home that sort of questing,
right?
Looking, trying to fulfill. Any character in this game are really trying to ultimately look for some sort of fulfillment, which in a lot of stand crawls, I feel like you sometimes miss out on because you're just sort of all over the place.
It's very nebulous.
It's easy,
yeah,
it's easy to get lost. It's easy to not have like a goal in mind, but very much like the billy goat scruff looking for the fat pastures. You're looking for fulfillment upon the bridge.
Nice. No, sorry, go ahead.
One marketing tagline that we've used a bit has been, you can travel the bridge for a lifetime and the only end you'll find is your own.
Yes.
And that has a very fatalistic point of view, but it's also an expression of how you can go out and find what you're looking for. There's infinity there. Go, now.
And that is the world. So whether you travel the bridge or not, that's your life on the bridge. Yeah, we will get into talking more about the setting and the rules and all of that in a little bit. But what I like to start off with these interviews, or what I like to lead into in the beginning of these interviews, once we establish who you are and the fantastic thing you are creating, let's talk a little bit about what led you up to this point. What what led throughout your life, throughout your TTRPG to career to make Bridgetown. Now, I know you've made previous products before, but let's talk about that. What led each of you to say, you know what, I want to design my own game?
Well,
wanna
oh,
take
go
this
ahead,
first?
Adrian. Yeah, go for it.
No, I was
You want
asking
me
if
to
you
take it,
want
or
to.
you? Oh, you want me to? Okay, okay.
If you want.
So I think the initial thing that started me going towards like creating my own game is spending a lot of time not having a chance to actually play as an adult. So I started reading TTRPG blogs and listening to various things and seeing all these indie creators that I had no idea about. You know, I was growing up just seeing Witches of the Coast and then maybe Pathfinder and things like that. But you know, I saw all these indies doing stuff, from Arnold K at Goblin Punch and the OSR crowd to, you know, all of these 5e people coming out of the woodwork. And you know, it's like seeing all those early homebrewers and finding, oh, you can actually do more with this than just, you know, play around with your friends. So I had started my blog after Adrian pestered me for a while about doing it. And eventually I ran into David, and we're both from South Carolina. And he saw a post that I had about, was it about hoodoo and, you know, Southern, you know, mythologies and things like that. And he was like, hey, you want to make a book with me? I was like, hell yeah. And that happened. And from there, you know, we made connections, met with lots of really cool people. You know, that's how we got into Charlie Ferguson Avery, who's an artist, and done projects with him. And Adrian, he's just been there for the ride the entire time. We role played on Play by Post for a good while, and we've been chat buddies for a nice while. So I've been trying to get him into this for a bit. I'm happy I'm finally there.
Nice, nice. Uh, yeah, Adrian. What about yourself? What led you here?
Well, let's see. I was never really able to play tabletop RPGs, like even during my childhood, just like the logistics and having a large enough group and everything.
I feel that.
So pretty early on, I got my way of investing in the hobby was more conceptual. I spent a lot, like a lot of time building characters for third edition D&D
Mm-hmm.
and Pathfinder and everything. And eventually, that desire to tinker with things and come up with my own characters kind of, I guess, naturally grew into a desire to want to actually build the thing that you play a game with. But ironically, spending so much time with like crunchy RPGs like D&D didn't really leave me with a sense of mastery of that kind of crunchy system. So I was too intimidated to try to build like Pathfinder class archetypes or something like that. But the OSR was entering its like second or third wave at around the same time, and those were games that I never was interested in playing. But from a creative standpoint, it's just like it's so much more inviting. The rules are so much more simple and straightforward, and creatively liberating. So I got started making like, admittedly, the very first Glog class that I made was like the most bloated, rules-heavy thing ever made for that game. But
And if you don't know GLOG, that's Goblin Laws of Gaming, an indie heartbreaker by Arnold K. and Skirples.
Nice.
And a vast, vast blogging community. Go ahead, sorry.
that's okay. And so yeah, I just very very slowly expanded my horizons from there, and eventually I don't know, it was probably you who or a conversation with you that ended up introducing me to Troika itself, and I was when I learned a bit about it, I was immediately struck by deja vu because back when I was just a wee little goblin whelp, I would go to my elementary school library pretty much every week and check out a like disintegrating old choose your own adventure book
Yeah.
from the fighting fantasy series,
Mm-hmm.
the Shamutanti Hills. And it was my first experience with solo RPG playing, and it was just such a like not being able to play D&D with a group and everything. It was so transformative, and to now have a successor to that game system that like uses skill and stamina and luck and everything in the same way it was like a calling. And I still have that book here. I didn't steal it from a library. The librarians gifted it to me.
Nice.
Oh, that's precious.
And yeah, so that's I guess that's more or less how I wound up here.
Nice. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of that. I didn't get into actually playing TTRPGs until well after college. Unfortunately, despite trying many times to put a group together, I think I got 2 or 3 different groups together for like 3/4 of one session before it would fall apart. Um, but yeah,
If I could
that's
share
just
in
where
your
I came
pain,
from. Sorry, what's that?
if I could share in your pain briefly,
Yeah.
there was one attempt at a D&D group back in my junior year of high school. Um, the DM was like a couple of counties away, so we all crowded around a cell phone that was on
Oh.
on conference call.
Oh man.
Rough.
Yeah. Yeah, before the age of VTTs and Discord and all of that, I remember that, and it was not fun. Fortunately, playing games online, the accessibility of gaming online has gotten so much easier for everybody, so much more inviting for everybody, and especially after the plague killed all of our social lives, it's really helped to. It's really helped as a way to bring other people into the hobby who might not have had the accessibility to go down to a local game store because sometimes there aren't local game stores. Uh, but I think I mean we could reminisce about the difficulties of gaming in the past, but that is not exactly what we are here for. Let me transition off of what you just said about going from a crunchier game like D&D, especially 3.5, over to Troika. I know when I was just another little anecdote. I know when I was trying to get into running games for the first time, my game of choice was Shadowrun 5e. I could not have picked a worse game to try to start my
Right?
TTRPG career with, but I adore it.
You masochist.
Right, right. So I feel that not necessarily pain, but that the relief of that transition from a heavy, crunchy system to a much more accessible, much more narrative, loose rule set. Like standard SRDs and OSR and getting into Troika. So let's transition that. Why Troika? Is it just that simplicity?
It's simple. David has a lot of experience with it. Adrian's been writing classes for it for his blog for a bit. And it works so well for something that we want to be. We don't want it to be a combat simulator. We want it to
Hmm.
be a people crossing an infinite bridge simulator, and that's the thing about Troika is it can, with how open-ended it is, especially with the really crazy fun advanced skills and abilities that these very individualized backgrounds have. There's just so much room to do anything you like, and the creative effort it would take for a DM coming into it, or a designer coming into it, it's it requires so much less.
Hmm.
And we just it's so much less intimidating. It's not intimidating to folks, I feel like. If I was going to offer somebody, here's your introductory RPG, there's your first RPG you're going to play, it's either going to be Troika or it's going to be Glog,
Hmm.
because they're simple. Anything you learn there can be applied to the basic standards of learning any other game. and you're gonna have fun one way or another.
Hmm. Yeah, so for people who don't know Troika already, before we get into Bridgetown itself, can one of you give me a quick rundown, the basic principles of Troika?
Adrian, you're our mechanics guy.
Yeah, what's the dice mechanics like? What's the key features of characters?
It is a pretty streamlined 2d6 system. That's pretty much what you roll for almost everything. Occasionally it'll call for something like a 3d6 or a d66, which is when you roll 2d6, but you treat it as a percentile roll, so you can roll anywhere from a 16 up to a 66. Characters have only three stats: stamina, life essentially, skill, which is your general competence, and luck, which is your ability to get out of trouble, a saving throw stat essentially. And the more you rely on your luck, the more it diminishes. It actually drops in value until you're able to recover it through a couple of different means. So if you test your luck too many times, eventually it'll bite you. And it's a let's see. I guess it's kind of it's a pretty lethal game, I would say, despite the gonzo sci fantasy whimsy of the that it cultivates. The amount of stamina that you start your character with is all you get. So and there's very little access to healing spells or potions and things like that. So it's it has a lot of room for just really skin of your teeth kind of wild gameplay, and I think you're encouraged to be reckless and to come up with any wild solution to a problem that you have by the setting and everything. And the tone of the game is something that I would call Pratchett punk, kind of.
It's very British humor.
Yes. Like fighting fantasy and everything, it is heavily inspired by that golden age of 1980s, 1990s British role-playing games.
Interesting. Very nice. Very
And
nice.
what one of the things that sets it apart from like a lot of modern RPGs that you think of is it doesn't have classes, it doesn't have races, it has backgrounds, and each of these backgrounds comes with a couple advanced skills, which are skills that you add to your base skill modifier, for your role. And they could be anything from fist fighting to what are some of the really fun ones we had, Adrian? Uh, you helped write most of the backgrounds there.
Let's see. The wording of it might have changed slightly, but we have a cobble canter background, which is a kind of a sandwich board wearing street proselytizer chanting about how the end is nigh, and one of their advanced skills is miracle working, in parentheses charlatanism.
Or we have another that has secret drifter graffiti, and so with all these different weird skills that you may not see with any other backgrounds. You've got some generalized ones, but you've got a bunch that you won't see with any others. It gives the player a lot of room to be like, well, this applies to this, and here's my logic as to why. And that's like half the fun of the storytelling is how am I going to get this square block to fit through this triangle hole. um and then of course they each not every one of them, but each there's a lot of room for like singular weird abilities that a lot of people have, which we can get into our specific ones later in the conversation.
Uh, yeah, well, that sounds like a nice basis for general understanding for Troika itself. We've kind of already started transitioning a bit into Bridgetown itself, so let's give into that. Talk about Bridgetown specifically, and let's start with what kind of characters you make for Bridgetown, and what stories you tell through them.
Bridgetown like I said, it has a lot of punks and weirdos to it. We wanted to emphasize a very gritty, like lived on the streets, or maybe not on the street level, your entire life type of character who's used to the funk and roughness of a big city, and that's like cramped together on something that's no more than like 50 people wide. Most often, you don't even leave your the neighborhood that you were born in. Most bridgers just stay where they are. But it's more a game for the drifter type, the one that has been unmoored from wherever they live, and the looking fors are a direct way to give you something that you don't have. And as far as options go, we populated the bridge with a couple of different species, and some of which are represented in the backgrounds. Half of them are just like generic, unassuming species. You can be human or gruff-folk or troll or goblin. But the other half each have a couple of a pair of backgrounds dedicated to fleshing out the flavor of the species that we created for it. Which,
So
as I
these
said, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so these go anywhere from the Stone White, which is our essentially our wizard. They're who speak with the spirit of the bridge itself and are able to cast magic from manipulating the bridge's energies, to the troll sewer worker, who are a bunch of gruff unionized trolls who are fighting against the tyranny of the aristocrats and the the gatehouses, to the gruff folk pilgrims who are seeking the end of the bridge, despite it being never ending.
And
They
those
are
are goat folk.
goat folk.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're goat folk who they make almost a religion out of walking. And then of course the Stone Keenings, which
I love the
that
Stone
was
Keenings.
yes, Adrian's the one who sort of initially came up with that idea. Our initial document has a lot of like capitals and exclamation marks of being like, yo, this, that. We build off of each other a lot like that. But the Stone Keening is there's no heaven or hell on the bridge. The bridge is all there is. So when you die, when a bridger, the average bridger dies, their soul has to go somewhere. So if a stone white's on hand, they'll put your soul into a keystone, so that you may be integrated back into the bridge or back into the home that you lived in, and your spirit can sort of live on and protect the community. But for you adventurers out there who might die out on the wild bridge and don't have a stone white handy, your spirit will wander, and eventually it will bind itself to whatever stone it can, and all of those stones will slowly sort of come together, and you got yourself a stone keening, this big troll-sized rock monster of many competing voices and spirits just looking for rest.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, so Bridgetown, you have all of these really quite incredible races. There's much more than just the typical human, elf, orc, dwarf,
Goblins
whatnot.
in a trench coat.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, the huddle of goblins I see here. Yeah, it looks like a very interesting way to define your characters as far as who you are, who you exist as, and all of these backgrounds, which from what I understand may or may not relate to the race you choose.
Yeah, some of them specify what you are, but half of them we kept deliberately vague, so that anyone can be a stone right, or anyone can be a member of one of the turnpike guilds who became turncoat.
And the stories that you tell with these characters throughout the game of Bridgetown, as you said, one of the big factors is your what did you call it? The motivations, the
Looking for.
looking fors, yeah. Uh, so you so what is a typical adventure going to look like? And actually, let me refine that question, because I see on the Kickstarter page that this is actually going to come with its own built-in sort of introductory story, right? This
Mhm.
Stone Soup campaign. Tell me about a little, without spoiling too much. Tell me a little bit about what stories we can expect from Bridgetown with something like Stone Soup.
Well, David's run a couple play tests, and it was really fun listening to him doing those play tests with our players. The first couple was prior to Stone Soup, and then once they got a hold of the cauldron, they had all kinds of fun there. But something that we found is those looking fors really help define the characters, like their interests, what even if they didn't take what we had written exactly, it gave them inspiration for a character that they're not. You're when you play Troika, you're not coming in with a 10-page background that you've been writing up for a week. You sometimes just roll dice and you're like, oh, that's the background I am, and I jump right in.
The experience
And
is in the journey where you're going, not necessarily
exactly
so much on where you've
where
been.
you came from.
Yeah.
Exactly, because the whole point of Bridgetown is like you're trying to get away from where you came from. You're trying to get forward to what you're going to become. Exactly. So there's stories of becoming. One of the play tests, one of our players was playing a Stone Keening, and you know, a Stone Keening ultimately wants to find rest. And through his adventure, he you know became close friends with a huddle of goblins, and he found a location where there's places where he could help, not only bring himself to rest but bring others like him to rest. And it just it sort of evolves naturally, which is something that I really like to see in any RPG. But in Troika itself, and when we think in Bridgetown, we really try to inspire and try to encourage the players to make their own story, because once you're a current walker, once your current person has found their goal, found what they're looking for, you have another person in that district who's ready to go and find what they're looking for further down the bridge.
Yeah, so because there's only a limited, point A to point B, there's not really too many branching paths as far as I understand. Your characters are going to have a goal, and a goal that should be relatively attainable. So over the course of a campaign of Bridgetown, would it be expected that players, find what they're looking for, settle down, and then they have to create a new character?
We originally we designed the Looking Fors as the absolute end all be all of what a character was. What a character's ultimate goal was, and if they attained one, that would be it, and they would retire. But as our playtesters tinkered with the game more and more, they got like to want to play those characters more and more. So
They got
so
invested.
Hmm.
yeah, so we decided that it was less a. Hold on. I'm trying to remember the fourth edition D&D Epic Destiny. It's less of one of those and more just a something that you can take as an out, something that gives narrative fulfillment to the moments that you find yourself in. But if you find that you just want to see what's one district over forever, that's something you can do as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so there's not necessarily a hard out, like a hard win condition for this game. It's about the journey, and you decide
Mhm.
when your journey is over. I like that. I like that. Uh, yeah. Give me a give the audience, anybody looking into Bridgetown, into supporting the Kickstarter, picking up Bridgetown itself, give us a little, again, without any spoilers, give us the elevator pitch of Stone Soup.
So the elevator pitch for Stone Soup is there's these various magical artifacts out in the world, and the vast majority of them are powered by a keystone, which ultimately is a soul, or multiple souls. And this particular one is the cauldron, which it is ancient, it is overpowered, it is very much an artifact, and when you think about traditional D&D, but we're putting in the hands of beginners.
Love it.
And it's this big beast of a cauldron that you bring with you. You can add various ingredients to it over time, create various stews that have magical effects. And ingredients are very, very prose edda type ingredients. Like you could put provisions in there, you could put dirt in there, but you could also put in, a cat's meow, the smell of ozone after a lightning strike, the memory of, your grandmother's cookies, so all kinds of things that are possible for it. And we have a nice array of suggested recipes, and plenty of space for people to make up their own. But we have a couple cooks that you can have as examples, such as the perfect stew recipe will get you past any gatehouse. So that will free you up to be able to travel the bridge without any tolls paid, without any without any of them trying to stop you, or maybe the cauldron actually has a dark history, something black cauldron-ish, if you remember the black cauldron. And it's the source of the evil under things that exist in the void beneath the bridge. So we give a couple possibilities for depending upon the tone that you're wanting to go with it. Because I've never been one where here's the one hook.
Right.
You need like a handful of how you want to go with it. And it was very much David's brainchild originally, but we really got grasped into it for Stone Soup. So yeah, it's not a vast, overwhelming module-esque campaign.
Right.
It's here's a really cool idea, and here's the things that go with it, and it's going to get you down that bridge.
All right.
It's going to get you down on that journey, and sometimes it's going to give you a hard time, but you'll decide whether it's worth it or not.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, once again, it's about the journey, about being creative, not necessarily about taking down the big evil necromancer or whatnot.
There's room to take down people. There's the aristocrats that need their towers pulled down because, eat the rich, right?
Oh yeah, we haven't really talked about the antagonists, quote unquote, of this world. I just wanted to say, as far as Stone Soup went, you really channeled Gourmet Street for it.
Just a little bit.
The way you two put that together so quickly and so effectively, it came from within.
Yes. I'm always there to put food into a game. But yeah, tell them about the Turnpike Guild.
Yes. So right from the beginning, I guess I should give a bit of backstory. This whole thing was prompted by me just saying, you know what I really think is awesome? Old medieval bridges that have houses and gates and things on top of them, like the old Bridge of London before it was burned down and everything. And from the idea of that kind of funky, rough London theme, we developed a kind of at first joking anti-authoritarianism to it, but actually we really got into it. So pretty much every major antagonistic force in the bridge is something that is trying to consolidate and wield power to control large segments of the bridge around them. We have the aristocrats like John mentioned, who are essentially just self-aggrandizing, addicted to creating as elaborate and as tall a tower as they possibly can to show off their wealth to other competing aristocrats in a perpetual keeping up with the Joneses sort of situation that inevitably results in a tower falling over either into the under or onto an entire district. And in between districts have arisen turnpike guilds, which are the closest thing to a government of sorts, and they generally, what they do is they try to tax and control the flow of traffic and goods up and down the bridge, and like with a single closed gate, you can absolutely devastate the entire ecosystem of the bridge. So they tend to be very bad news for anyone living around one.
Especially
so-
for our wanderers who are not sticking to their home district.
They've invented currency and tried to get the various bridgers to adopt it. They will tax you or force you to pay a toll if you try to pass through them, and they're not always just a monetary toll. It can be a very creative or bizarre toll that they exact, depending on the exact nature of the Turnpike Guild, which is in a lot of ways kind of like a messed up frat house.
I mean, we have one. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, one of the gatehouses that you might be forced to cross through is the Gate of Libations, which is, in addition to controlling the traffic there, they also operate the biggest distillery on the bridge, or that we know of at least. And if you want to get through, you're going to have to go through the rite of initiation, which involves
Drinking game.
drinking yourself almost to death. And if you're really brave, you take the stone shot, which is a miniature keystone, but it's still a keystone, so it's like a brick in a shot of what proof alcohol, like 300 or something.
You're right.
You have to, you have to
Some
drink.
Everclear equivalent.
And if you wake up in the morning, you can collect your things and pass. After you go through the gift shop, of course.
Right. Yeah, so it sounds like this bridge world you've created is chock full of really interesting places. Let's talk a little bit more about that setting and the actual gameplay loop of this and what adventurers can expect. So what does travel look like throughout Bridgetown? Not necessarily mechanics, but you start in your own little area, you wander out. Where do you see? What do you come across? Where are you going?
So yeah, we have a suggested spot that you start with the example locations that we provide in the book. We say, if you're just throwing darts for where you start outside of the Gate of Libations. Say that you've just passed through there, you're nursing your hangover, and you're just trying to get on with life. So you walk into the height and the depth, which we've created as kind of like, here's your stereotypical location on the bridge, when it doesn't have anything else crazy and fun going on like every other location we provide. This is our stereotypical, and it's a very urban spot. You're trying to make life work going through there. You might be trying to find work to be able to survive your passage through. We've got a variety of fun NPCs and sample events within each location. So if your DM doesn't already have a idea of what you are doing, he or she or they can roll, or they or any other pronoun you want to use, can roll for these events. And let me get one of the examples here that's fun. Tax season. The aristocrats loudly announces from his megaphone that tax season has begun. Tower keepers spread out and squeeze the populace for goods while citizens make themselves scarce. Outsiders, of course, will pay an inflated transportation excise tax. Um, or there's a sewer strike. Later on, there's a great migration of awful birds that's happening. So anytime that there's a slow moment, we have a way to inject a little bit of craziness into the spot. But when again listening to those playtests, people really use those looking fors to give them a reason to move through, and those gatehouses really give people a reason to interact with the populace and interact with the district that they're in, because they need to find out, how am I going to get past this place, how am I going to pay the toll, how what problems are they causing the populace that we can help fix, or if you're a more evil kind of player, how can I get on the side of the Turnpike Guild and do the vice a little bit more.
Mhm.
I haven't had anyone in any of the playtests do that yet. So hopefully we've got a pretty anti-authoritarian crowd coming into Bridgetown.
Mm. Nice.
um,
Uh,
so yeah, after each district, or a couple of districts, you have a gatehouse that's kind of like your mini boss, almost, as it were. And then you have more travel to go until you find what you're looking for. And then, of course, there are hints of some downwards movement rather than left or right in the. Because if you have a bridge, you need piles for them to sit on. There's these big pillars that rise out of nowhere, and for some people, they're a resource to be mined out. And of course, to some people, that's horrifying because
yeah,
it's
that
hurting
sounds
the structural
dangerous.
integrity of the bridge. Yeah. So there is plenty of room for, if someone wanted a dungeon crawl, someone decided, hey, I want to run Tomb of the Serpent Kings, but I want to run it in Bridgetown. Stick it down inside of one of the big pillars.
Nice.
You've got room for dungeon crawls in Bridgetown.
Nice. Yeah, I can see specifically on the Kickstarter, there's one of many very pretty images, but right at the top of where it gets into the Kickstarter, this very pretty map of a section of Bridgetown with all of these wacky different districts crammed next to each other. So that's generally the layout of this bridge. There's not necessarily long, expansive highways of nothingness. It's wacky district after wacky district after wacky district.
And that's not necessarily true because, again, we have to really condense it,
Right.
for this. But you see sections on there that are covered in vines. They're the wild bridge, and we have a section for generating the wild bridge. And these are the vast sections of
Gotcha. Excellent.
hinterland. These are where, some individual person might go out and try to found a homestead, or these are places where there's this vast stretch of nothingness that people have to travel through. There's Gruff Home, which is where the gruff folk congregate, but that's the thing, it's mobile. There's not one gruff home, and it never stays in the same place. It pops up somewhere on the wild bridge whenever enough gruff folk take a rest from their journey. So anytime you can switch up the bridge however you like, you can pick those up and place them anywhere. One of the fun things we're doing with the layout is each section has that section's bridge on it, so you can easily just move that somewhere else. You can stick wild bridge where you like, you can stick a gruff home where you like. So it's not just district after district, unless that's what you want. And then there's space for you to just do, here's your whole stretch of weirdness.
Very modular.
And exactly. Some of the original ideas we had were, to be able to just cut and paste however you like. We have this beautiful poster map, but it's not canon. That's just how it turned out and how we thought it was fun. But you do it how you want to do it. That's the Troical way.
Yeah, and really when
Just
you
not
have...
finished.
Sorry, Adrian, please go ahead.
Adrian, yes.
I'm just saying it's there as a suggestion for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd imagine when you have a straight line, really, you could take parts of that line and really put it wherever you want.
Anywhere you want.
Yeah. So very open-ended system, both from a character's standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, and from GMing storytelling standpoint.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Wow, we've been at this longer than time always gets away with me during these interviews because I just have so much fun talking about all of this.
Sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. I never tell my guests to be quiet or move on. I am here for this conversation. I love every one of them. Adrian,
I
yeah.
think I know something we should touch on before we like move to anything or wrap up.
Yeah.
The fact that the bridge is so infinite that it can, even though it doesn't have a beginning or end, it does find ways to connect to other places.
Hmm.
And this was something that we actually developed later on in the book's life cycle, where we decided because this is Troika, there are so many other spheres of existence out there that have been published. Why not? Like if you want your characters to fall off a golden barge, you can land on the bridge, or maybe something comes bubbling up from the under from another published setting, or maybe you fall off the bridge. And we have a whole table of what happens when you fall off the bridge. Usually it's very grisly, but sometimes you survive and sometimes you'll wind up elsewhere.
And sometimes it's grisly and you wind up somewhere else, such as when you fall forever and eventually find your way into the bottom of ocean as a newly hatched skeleton in Bones Deep,
Which was your previous game.
which was, yeah, David's previous game.
Mhm.
And for those people who back on the higher up level, you can get your own copy of Bones Deep as well.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a sort of sliders multi-universe. You know, you can jump in, out over this bridge and connect to various other Troika realities. I love that. Love it.
It's the poor man's sigil.
I was
Mm,
gonna, I
yeah.
was gonna say we didn't want to emphasize it because Sigil's right there, but let's see if you want it.
All right, all right. Yeah, obviously, whenever we're talking about somebody's own game, their own setting, there's always so much we can go on about, so much we can talk about, but we only have so much time. Before we get into the Kickstarter itself, are there any more highlights to your setting, to your game that you wanna talk about? I think we
Adrian was talking. I was to say Adrian was talking about how looking at the London Bridge was one of the inspirations. The other one was he and I both had the same childhood copy of Billy Goat's Gruff
mm,
that had this very Boschian art to it. So that's, yeah, there it
nice.
is. So that's another major keystone when you're traveling the bridge, when you're interacting with this, is treat it like you're neck deep in a Boschian version of Billy Goat Scrub.
Love it. Love it.
This right here is the Bridgetown.
Mm,
This is an illustration by what was his name? John O'Brien. I want to say yes, John O'Brien, a Canadian illustrator who was heavily inspired by Renaissance Dutch painters like Hieronymus Bosch, which explains a thing or two about my childhood.
mm.
It is so packed with this kind of chaotic detail
Mm-hmm.
that I think Charlie did an amazing job expressing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in Bridgetown.
Yeah, unfortunately, the camera's a little blurry to pick that up, but it's great artwork. Go check out Billy Goat's Gruff. Check out some of the images on there. Bosch, a lot of great stuff, and you can definitely see the inspiration in Bridgetown, and I love it. So let's jump over to the topic of your Kickstarter, because that's one of the main reasons why we're here. You just launched that Kickstarter, I believe, last week to the day, right? It hasn't been going on for very long.
No, it's like been 2 days.
It's been 2 days, right?
It's been 2 days.
Because we were going to have this interview beforehand to lead up into it, and then things got busy in my world, and we had to cut it back. But Yeah, in 2 days you are almost twice. You are just under twice your intended goal there, which
Yeah, we just need 3 more hardback spots. Come on, people.
nice. Yeah, Bridgetown funded in 1 day. So if you're interested in this game, if you want to back it, you don't need to worry about the project falling through. I know with indie games that's always a concern. Obviously, Kickstarter is very good about that. If you pledge and it doesn't go through, you get your money back. But it can be daunting to look at a game and see, okay, there's 15 days left and they're only at 60%. Don't have to worry about that here. Bridgetown is fully funded first day, and well on their way beyond that. So let's talk about this Kickstarter. You said specifically you need 3 hardbacks to get you to that twice over mark. Let's take a look at what you can get for support. There's not only the hardcover version of Bridgetown, you can go for the digital rewards, which I see here is about $15.
Mhm.
I don't not about it is $15
Yeah.
for the PDF and HTML version of Bridgetown, and then you can kind of go up from there to get hardcovers, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff. So why don't you both tell me about everything that you've put together for this sort of Kickstarter bundle and what those tiers look like? How can they help? How can they support? What do they get for it?
This is one thing where I wish we had been able to have the interview earlier because of the bewildering outpouring of support for Bridgetown.
Those exclusive
our higher-
offers went quick.
Yeah.
People like goodies,
Yeah.
So like even on our basic get your book level, we have the goodie of getting the poster map that's done by our boy Skullboy, which he's done so much good stuff, and we're so happy that David was able to get him for this. So even on that basic physical tier, you've got yourself a nice, beautiful map to go with it. Then the next tier, you get Bridgetown and you get Bones Deep, which we've got tie-ins to Bones Deep in Bridgetown. So you've got 2 great Troika books that you can work together with.
Now let me stop you
Unfortunately,
there real quick. Elevator pitch for sorry, I know you just said it.
for Bones Deep,
Bones Deep. Yeah, elevator
Bones
pitch, Bones
Deep,
Deep.
yes. You are a newly hatched skeleton on the bottom of the ocean. You're powered by your memories and a need to fulfill something in your life. And you have to do it all here underwater, being unable to talk to the fish really or swim. And you do everything from you've got ones that are modifying their skeletal structure slowly. You've got ones that are allowing parasitic shipworms to slowly infest you and take over. There's all kinds of fun there. And the best part about Bones Deep, I think, is David worked very closely with a lot of actual like marine biologists and like scientists in the
Mm-hmm.
field and local ships captains. So a lot of the stuff in there that is as strange as anything that you can find out of Troika is true. Like it's a truth is stranger than fiction book.
Underwater, yeah.
There, yeah. So
Deep
it's
ocean stuff,
definitely
man. Ooh,
it
it's like outer
is
space down
weird
there.
and wonderful. It is somehow both grim and wholesome at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even know how to explain that, but I love it.
Well, I think that's a great little explanation for that. So yeah, that's the $50 tier I'm looking at here,
Mhm.
right? You get Bridgetown, you get the digital version, you get the hardcover, you get the poster, and you get a second Troika compatible game. So 2 games, $50 plus goodies and hardcover, and that we're not talking like little flimsy zine things. Not that there's anything
No,
wrong with them. These are like full hardback,
quality
really nice quality
quality
books.
books. That
Nice.
and I remember back in the day paying $50 out for a player's manual.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's 2 whole games for you.
Well, that's an excellent deal.
Um, for the people who wanted to go further, and they all went further. They've already gone. We had the goat tier and the underwater goat tiers, where you got to have the dice, which are beautiful. They were carved to look like little cobblestones captured in resin, but it's the same resin throughout. So the whole thing is perfectly balanced. And then, of course, the Bridgetown Skin and Beard Balm that's made by Plus One EXP. And oh, like the descriptions he gave us of how it smells,
Mm,
like it gives you ideas of petrichor and moss and woody, and like
mm-hmm.
it's just beautiful. And I've already used his strength and his wisdom
Mm,
beer bombs before, so I'm really excited to get
nice.
myself a 10
Yeah, yeah.
of
Plus
Bridgetown.
one EXP. The pledge tier for that is gone. Unfortunately, they can't get that through
Yeah.
Bridgetown anymore. But if you're interested in that, if you like having a nice, full, supple, soft, luscious beard like ourselves here, go check out Plus One ESP. Great folks, great product. Um, with these higher end extra goody tiers, you're only 2 days into it. They're all gone. Any thoughts about making a couple more of those, or is that it? Exclusive over. They're done.
You'd have to talk to David, but I think part of the thing is when he did the exclusives for Bones Deep, he only had a limited run of
Mm-hmm.
their dice, but there was so much demand still that it allowed the person who is providing those dice to open up a web front to
Mm-hmm.
continue to provide dice. So we're working with a different person, a local craftsman in the Charleston area, to make those dice, and we just want to give them the chance to, continue to profit off
Love it.
of the dice afterwards. So, if this runs really well, hopefully it'll inspire her to make more
Yeah,
dice for you
yeah.
all.
No, I love that. That's one of the best parts of working within the indie TTRPG space because a lot of the people I see who make their own games, design their own games, small publishers like Tactical Grimoire, there's a lot of just enthusiasm and sharing that enthusiasm and working together. It's not a zero sum game for a lot of indie
Exactly.
TTRPG developers. They want to bring other people in. They want to help each other out. So I love seeing that. That's great.
It's been that way from the beginning too. Like all of Low Country Crawl's profits, 20% of it always went to a local charity. And Bones Deep, worked with local folks and inspired local folks.
Love it.
This one we're making use of, artisans and promoting them. So, anything that Technical Grimoire does and anything that I know Adrian or I do, we want to do the most we can to support everyone else around us.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and Tactical Grimoire, that's the publisher. Unfortunately, David couldn't be here with us this week, unfortunately. But go check that out. Tactical Grimoire has put out a number of really cool other games. I have that page open somewhere, but more than just Bridgetown and Bones Deep, I believe.
We've got
Um,
Low Country Crawl, Clink. Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
I don't want to be that guy, but just for like the purposes of people being able to go out and track down his other stuff, it's technical grimoire, not tactical.
Tech. My apologies. My apologies.
Okay, it's okay.
And then he
Technical.
has a bunch of free resources on there too. If you're getting into Troika, he has a Troika generator that has pretty much every background anyone's ever made for Troika
I saw
in
that.
that generator. So if you're wondering what sort of character you want to put on Bridgetown and you don't like our 12 that we are providing here, hit his generator. You'll get some funky stuff.
And there's a link to that right on the Kickstarter.
Exactly.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Technical Grimoire. Anytime I try to say technical, I say tactical because of my experience in early TTRPG with 3.5 and Shadowrun. It just comes
Completely
out that
fair.
way.
My
No.
apologies.
Uh, Technical Grimoire. David's a great guy. Looks like a great little publisher to work with. So I am excited to speak with him more and check out other games that are produced here. Yeah, there's quite a few interesting things here to check out. So yeah, technicalgrimoire.com if you want to check that out. But let's see. Back to Bridgetown. That is the pledge tiers. And yeah, normally this is when we talk about stretch goals and seeing all kinds of different additional stretch goals. There are no stretch goals for
Hmm.
Bridgetown, which
Yeah.
I think it is not only just fine, it's great. There's so many other Kickstarters out there that have these stretch goals that go up to like $50,000 more than their original goal, that promise everything and a gilded kitchen sink on top of it. You guys know what you're about. You just want to create the game. You just want to have a good time. You want to make sure it gets out to the audiences, and anything you get more than that will what? Where's all this extra money going?
Exactly. So go ahead. You need a chance to talk, Adrian.
Well, um, a good chunk of it will go toward keeping the lights on at the publisher and
Mm-hmm.
helping to create the next amazing book that David works on. And it'll also help John and I keep things running on our end. And well, the more I guess the more change we have, the more we'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
dive into the next book as well. No promises. We're
Exactly.
gonna sleep for like a week after this, but
But that's exactly the thing, and it's been one of David's philosophies from the beginning. Is he doesn't want to overpromise. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to give a whole bunch of extra nonsense, down the line. He wants to make a good book. He wants to make sure there's nothing stopping that book from getting to you on time. I've never seen anyone complain about David getting stuff to you late. And we're not about the bells and whistles. We're about getting you a quality product first time through, and any extra money we get, that means we can make another quality
Right.
product that you don't need a whole bunch of bells and whistles for that one
Right.
either.
It's very important to invest back into what you are doing so you can continue to
Mm.
do it. Uh, I fully realize that, and I think that's great. Yeah. So speaking about getting a great product out, this might be a better question for David, who unfortunately is not here. But if we can, let's talk a little bit about the process moving forward. There is quite a bit of time left to get in on this Kickstarter. I see about 18 days to go. Time zones get a little wonky with things. It is telling me the Kickstarter will be over on May 1st for us in the
Mhm.
Eastern US. So you got plenty of time. What's it gonna look like after May 1st? What is the journey like after that point? Kickstarter is closed. Take me through that up to fulfillment and getting the game out, if you can.
So yeah, I would say I can't give you all of the details that David has for printing and shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Other than he's done this a couple of times. He's pretty good at it. He works with a local printer in the Charleston area, so he's able to get quality for a good price on his end, and get it out fast and quick, not having to wait for all kinds of other things. Um, with us, well, over fulfilled there, that means that we can do a good down payment to our layout guy so he can finish up fast, get all of our layout done, because all the writing is done. Adrian and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been writing. We've been playing around on Discord. And most of the, pretty much all the editing is done. They might have one more pass after layout, but really we have a done product.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to be printed.
Right.
And that
Which
means
is a big journey
once
just
they
in itself.
exactly. But David's got all of it lined up. He knows the folks. They're in the know, and he's going to be able to get that printed. And I think he was hoping to get it all shipped out by August, which
August,
that's
very
quite
nice.
it's quite a good turnaround.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone in the industry that I can trust to do that, it's him. And of course, to make life as easy as we can across the world, we're partnered with Spirit Witch, who David always partners with in the States for fulfillment. They're based out of Lawrence, Kansas, which is only about an hour drive from where I'm at. And Jared Sinclair over at Spirit Witch has done a very good job of fulfillment and getting those books places. And over in the UK, we've partnered with Soul Muppet to make sure that folks over there can also get good fulfillment. And then there's all the nonsense about VATs, but David's got his fingers on the pulse for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, so even once the Kickstarter ends, it's a big journey for production. I've heard a bunch about that in all of the conversations I've done in these WIP Workshop interviews. That a lot of people don't think of. A lot of people think you give money to a Kickstarter, the Kickstarter ends, where's my product? Well, we gotta finish it first.
Right.
But an August turnaround sounds great, and don't worry, I don't think anyone's going to hold you too strictly to that.
Yeah.
But that's good to know that it's not going to be like a whole other year down the line.
And the thing
David
is if
does,
you want, go ahead.
David does specify in the Kickstarter that shipping, payment, and info will be collected in July. So
Very
that'll
nice.
be leading up to the
Yeah.
August turnaround.
And if you don't want to
David.
wait for August to get your book, use that generator on his site. And we already have some of our backgrounds up there for you to use in your home Troika game,
There you go.
you know? So
Excellent.
you don't even have to wait for Bridgetown yet to get a taste of it.
Excellent.
The
Excellent.
Troika rules are free. Like, go to the Troika website and just download the full PDF. The whole game is at your fingertips.
Yeah, the PDF is free for the text image free version there, so you're ready to go.
And that is linked directly at the very top of the Kickstarter page on Bridgetown as well. So it's all right there. Yeah, go check out the Bridgetown Kickstarter. Let me drop that in the chat once more, if I can remember how to spell bridge. There we go. Check out the Kickstarter there. It has a bunch of great resources. It has a link to the free rules for Troika. It has that character generator we were talking about, and all kinds of great details. It really lays out what this project is all about. Go help support that. Go check out everything else that is going on with Technical Grimoire. And May 1st being the last day that you can get in on this, and then be on the lookout for news and fulfillment in just a few months, which is fantastic. So let me.
It's my birthday, guys.
Love it.
Y'all need to go out there and fulfill it today, right?
That's true. Happy birthday! Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Celebrate. Do go and celebrate. Give a little bit of a gift to John here. Check out the Kickstarter and help support. Yeah. So what I like to wrap up with on these interviews is what's this looking like going forward? Once you're done with Bridgetown, you're gonna sleep for a week afterwards, recharge your batteries. What's next for the two of you? Any plans?
I'm working on a D100 goat generator. Just to add a little bit of fun to anywhere where you need more goats, because even after this I don't have enough. And I've also promised that I have to bring my daughter to the local petting zoo on this weekend, because we fulfilled in one day. So you'll probably get some pictures of me with goats on on Twitter here soon. But yeah, we've got some zine ideas cooking. From the very vilest viziers to some Fey work on Adrian's side. I'm not going to steal your thunder there.
Yeah, stuff we can't talk. Don't want to make any promises about it yet, but I need to get back to work on my blog, though. I've been neglecting it for a bit.
Where can people find that? Go ahead and plug yourself there.
Oh, yes. Oh, geez, can I remember my own blog? furtiveGoblinGaming.blogspot.com. It's where I do yours.
And mine's unlawful.games. Thanks to my very first DM ever, Zoe, who provided the funding to be able to host that website. So
excellent.
Shout out to my first DM.
Excellent. Yeah, send me those links when we're done here, and I will put them on the description down below in YouTube if you want to go check those out. All right. Fantastic. Bridgetown, yeah. Fully funded, looks like an incredible game. Plenty of time left. Please go check it out. Drop a little birthday surprise pledge in there for John here, and get yourself an awesome looking game, because it does look fantastic and a very evocative game. So do check that out. Thank you both of you for hanging out tonight. This was a great discussion. I've really had a lot of fun. Talking.
We went over time a little bit, so we must have had fun.
Yeah. It's going over time is always a positive for me. It means we're all having fun, so I really enjoy it.
Thanks for having us, Jack.
Yes, it was fantastic. Thank you both. Go check out Bridgetown. The link is in the chat. More will be down below. And stop by throughout the week for even more RPGs, uncovered content. We have season 5 coming up in a few weeks, sometime in the beginning of May. I'm still putting that together, so no exacts just yet. And keep checking back on Wednesdays for more WIP Workshop creator interviews. John, Adrian, thank you for stopping by so much again. And everybody else, go check that out and have a great time zone wherever you are.
Good
Bye.
afternoon.